Welcome, welcome. And this is another episode of the DFG podcast, destined for greatness. And I just want to touch on a few things today, man. I've just been, thinking, and things come to me just, out of the blue. Things come to me out of the blue, and I was just thinking how, I want to touch on how, let's be unique. Be true to yourself. Okay? Be unique and be true to yourself. And don't let this world conform. Don't let yourself conform to this world. Right? And I'm not going to get biblical. I'm not going to get, but, we look at society. We look at social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We look at TikTok, and we want to be like other people so bad. And people say, no, I don't. Yes, we do. We let others influence our decisions on life. We let others influence our way of thinking. Right? Whether we want to be successful, we let others success. The success of others, impact our lives. And what I mean about that is that, okay, this person want to be a YouTuber, they're a successful YouTuber, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. I'm going to do that too, right? Okay, that's fine. But then you're doing the same exact thing they're doing. You're talking how they talk, right? And it's like, okay, if you choose to go that route, that's fine. But use your talents, use your gifts, right? Don't be like them, be yourself. Be unique. And we all have unique things that's been given to us. We all have unique gifts that's been given to us. Right? And we just let other people dictate us so much, whether it's even from an emotional standpoint, something bad can happen and we'd be like, oh, that's so sad. Oh, that's hurt. It's hurtful. Oh, that's, and in the moment someone says something different, have a different opinion or a different feeling or express a different emotion, something's wrong. Because, society only accepts certain reactions, right? That's acceptable. And like for myself, I'm a stoic individual. Some people are stoic, like for me, throughout my lifetime, if something happened to somebody, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's sad, that sucks, I'm sorry to hear that. And sometimes that's all they get out of me. And it's not that I don't care, I care differently, right? So, but it's becoming more acceptable, I would think, but still, we let people impact us even more now than ever because of social media. You're more concerned, or you're scared, or how people are going to react, But it's like, you shouldn't let people's reaction dictate how you express yourself, how you feel, right? So, if it's 10 people, you could be that one of 10 that reacts differently to something, and that's okay, right? You want to do things your way, you want to do things in a different way, that's okay. Just because people say, oh, that's crazy, oh, that's different, oh, that's odd, oh, that's weird, right? And like, I know me growing up, throughout my whole life, I always say, what is weird? I come to this, what is weird? Why is that weird? Because they dress different, because they talk differently, because they do things in a different way. That's what makes them stand out more, if anything, right? And you have many successful people, wealthy people that they did things in a quote unquote weird way, right? They did things in a different way. They was pioneers. They became pioneers in the different way they approach certain things, and the different way that they thought, their different approach of thinking. They became pioneers in their field. right? They didn't go along with what everybody else was doing, or they went and they was innovative on that, and it was different. You have fashion designers who, I'm sure, they dress different, or they thought things differently. People, oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's, well, look, there you go, right? So you see things in a different way. You approach things differently. Accept that. Be true to who you are. Be true to yourself. And we have to remember that, because we tend to just want to be like everybody else so bad. We want people to accept us. In certain situations, okay, you can listen to what people have to say, but you don't have to accept. You don't have to settle for less. You don't have to settle for being unhappy, or because it's more acceptable to do A, B, C, and D. You don't have to settle for that, right? Be true to yourself. If you're true to yourself, you're always going to be happy. Be honest with yourself, right? So, in the way I see it, social media, I think that it has influenced people to just want to just be like other people so much. Social media is great. It's awesome. You reach billions, millions and billions of people, right, worldwide, right? It helps people to expand their businesses, friends, relationships, whatever it may be. But it also, to me, in my opinion, is a dark side that, people want to get rich and famous off of social media by all doing the same thing and all acting the same way. Or you see, okay, this is acceptable, so I'm going to be this way. This is acceptable, so I'm going to be that way. And that's not the case, right? Because a lot of people on those social media platforms, they're not honest with themselves. They're not honest with themselves, and then they're not honest with other people, right? So you have to be honest with yourself, no matter what it is in life. Whether it's relationships, financially, emotionally, spiritually, career-wise. Because at the end of the day, if you're not honest with yourself, if you're doing something that you hate, even relationship-wise, years ago, I was in a relationship that we were together for 2.5 years, I say, right? And it was good, it was fine, doing the whole family thing, so living together, things like that, raising her daughter. And after about a year, I kind of sort of realized, like, this is not going to work out. And I kind of just, I talked about it, told people about it. And, some people told me, it was like, well, you gotta be honest. Because if you're not honest with yourself, if you don't care for her in a certain way, then it's not going to work. And it became, a constant fight on the inside. We living together, things are kind of tied together in the sense of, we're not married or anything, but things kind of tied together. It's hard to manage because we're together, And the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, well, we don't have any kids together. We're not married, so I have to be honest with myself and her. Because the longer I drag this on, I'm gonna regret it. I'm gonna be miserable. I'm gonna get more, I'm gonna get mad. I'm gonna get angry. I'm gonna get upset. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna get more irritable. And that's how it is with jobs. That's how it is, spiritually. That's how it is, emotionally, relationships. Because the longer we're not honest with ourselves and open with ourselves, then it's gonna spill over into whoever. If we're with somebody, even job-wise, if you hate your job, you're doing it for A, B, C, and D. Okay, that's fine. But eventually, you're gonna be miserable. You're gonna hate that job, right? You're gonna hate it more and more and more and more, right? You're gonna resent it. So you gotta be honest with yourself, and you gotta come to a decision like, okay, well, what am I gonna do, right? What can I do, right? So anyway, like I said, you gotta be honest with yourself and stay true to yourself. And, I say, dare to be different. Dare to be different. And I'm not saying, purposely do things out of left field just to go against the grain. And, I'm not saying that, rebel to the 100th degree. But, if you're doing things, if you're making decisions, if you're showing the world how you feel, expressing yourselves in a way that's just a tad bit different than everybody else's, that's fine. Continue to do that, because that's what makes you different. That's what makes you unique, and that's what will make you stand out. Right? I'm not saying break any laws. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, use the gifts, use the way of thinking that you've been given, and express yourself. Again, wrapping up now, dare to be different. And that's all I have to say about that. Y'all have a good day. And that's all I want to say real quick. Be easy. Peace.